first time I had this dish was 10 years ago in Taiwan. And this is where my husband's family's from. And it's called gubami or Nio ro Mian, which is beef noodle soup. And this soup is warm, has a little spice to it. It has beef shank in there that's so tender. And I can't wait for you guys to try this recipe. It's definitely a labor of love, but in the end, it's so worth it. My favorite cut of meat to go in the gubami is beef shank. And I usually go to the butcher and get him to cut like a 2-inch width of meat with its boned in. And I like this meat because after cooking it for a long period of time, the meat's gonna be really tender. It has a lot of marbling and it has some connective tissue, so you definitely want to cook it for an extended period of time. I like to cut around the bone and get the meat off. And then I cut it into pieces about this size. And I cut it off the bone because I like, with this soup, to add so many layers and richness of flavor. I take the bone and I roast it along with my other vegetables, tomato, onion, and I roast it in there because it's just gonna add an even more layer of flavor to your gubami. So we had this soup the first time in Taiwan, and Chris's aunt, we call her Dua-ai, which is older aunt. She's the chef of the family. She loves to cook. And after a long 16-hour flight, we were jet lagged, we were starving. So we made it to the apartment, and my mother-in-law, Ama, lives right next to her sister. So she brought over this big pot of gubami, and it was real good. So I've been trying to perfect her recipe and added my own little additions to my soup. And I think it's turned out pretty good. My kids love it, my husband loves it. So after you cut all the meat off the bone, we're going to put the bones and the vegetables in the oven to roast before we put it into our soup. So I added the bones and the vegetables to the sheet tray. I'm just gonna lightly coat them in oil. And we're gonna put it in the oven at 425. We're gonna get a good caramelization and a deep brown color to the bones. And then after it's caramelized, I add some tomato paste to the vegetables. It's just gonna intensify the flavor and bring out some richness to the soup. While the bones and the vegetables are roasting and getting a nice caramel color, I wanted to show you a spice packet that I put in the beef noodle soup. And it's a seasoning packet that has like cinnamon and star anise and Szechuan peppercorns, coriander, a bunch of other spices, but this really adds to the dish. It's gonna create a little heat, a little warmth, and it's like hands down like my favorite thing. There's another dish called loba, is basically braised meat, and you put this spice packet in there and it's delicious. But with the spices, I like to toast them, and just when it becomes fragrant, I take it off. I think it brings out all the flavors by heating the spice before you put it in a packet. So here's all the spices for the lupao. So we're gonna drop it in to our soup. It's gonna bring out some really nice flavors in our soup. I'm excited. I'm gonna salt the beef shank evenly on all sides. I'm going to sear it. It's just another thing you can do to add more layers of flavor. After having the gubami in Taiwan, I was excited to explore Taiwan and all the foods there, and I was not disappointed. It was a culinary adventure. This coming summer, next year, we're gonna be going to Taiwan again. So I'll have to make some more food videos of all my culinary journeys I go on. Next, you're gonna sear your meat. You want to work in batches and not overcrowd the pan. This will help the meat cook properly. So the bones have been roasted along with the vegetables, and I browned all the beef shank. And to the pot, I'm going to add some garlic, scallions, and ginger. I love this soup pretty much anytime, but it's so nice when it's like almost becoming fall. It's sad the summer's ending, but this is a nice soup for the fall or winter. And I really love serving this soup with scallion pancakes. My kids love them. And I also have a really yummy recipe for a spicy marinated cucumber that I'm gonna make for you guys. This one's good. It has like some brightness and a little bit of heat. And then also to the soup, I'm adding some dried chilies and sugar, some soy sauce. I'm gonna be adding, I love mushrooms, and these are dried shiitake mushrooms. It's gonna add a good umami flavor to the soup. And then also some Shaoxing wine I'm gonna add, and a spicy bean paste. So to the pot that I browned the meat in, I'm gonna add the ginger, garlic, and scallions. Let it cook for a couple of minutes. And once the garlic becomes fragrant, I'm gonna add a little sugar. Added the spicy bean sauce and deglaze with some Shaoxing wine. I'm gonna toss in our dried chilies and our shiitake mushrooms. And yesterday I made some bone broth, but you can certainly get it at the store. I would go for like a low sodium broth. That way you can adjust the seasonings at the end. And we'll pour that in now. Oh, we also need our special spice packet. That's gonna make it taste good too. The main thing is you wanna make sure that when you pour the broth in, you wanna cover your meat so it cooks properly. Our goubami is done. And now I'm gonna strain all the tomatoes and chilies that were left in the soup. And I like to use a strainer, it's called a chinois. It's like a 5 mesh strainer. And I put some cheesecloth in here to collect all the like impurities and things. So you just scoop it in here and just put it through the strainer. And we get out the nice, delicious broth. We added our soup to a bowl full of noodles, topped it with the beef shank, and now it's time to eat. Are you guys ready to eat your goubami? Looks like Theo and Oliver are digging in. Is it good? You like it? That must be a good sound. What about you, Oliver?
The beef's very tender.
Very tender? You like the noodles too?
I have to say that.
Oh, you did? Okay. I love this soup, and especially I love to put toppings on it. So little cilantro, some fried shallots, and some pickled mustard greens really tops it off. And then I like to eat it with our pickles and scallion pancakes. So let me have a little taste of it. See if it tastes good. Mmm, yummy. It's got some good richness, a little bit of heat, all the warmth from the spices. It's so good. And I hope you guys make this recipe and sit down and eat it with your kids as they smack their food. If you like this video, please subscribe to more of my videos, and there'll definitely be some more Taiwanese recipes in the works that I can't wait to share with you guys.